get to a place where you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I finally got to that place, and I started actually just studying scriptures and finding out and going to different finance conferences to find out what is debt, what is credit, how can I do these things. And then I started doing something that we all should do. I started to educate myself. I started to pick up any kind of book I could. The Millionaire Mind, The Millionaire Next Door. I'm going to give you all some resources too between today and tomorrow. You'll probably hear them falling out me in between examples, because these books have helped me. Larry Burkett, and everybody know who Dave Ramsey is today. Dave Ramsey, we actually had Financial Peace held here at the ministry, and that was a 9-week course, and it really blessed my soul, and it set a fire in me to start getting my debt out of my life. And that's exactly what I did. I started moving debt, and I did it as quickly as I possibly could. I was able to pay off $140,000 in debt. Thank you, God. Hallelujah. And I did not do it on my own accord. It was the word of God. It was prayer. It was believing God. Sometimes in there, I received some financial miracles, that debt cancellation, hospital bills, a $20,000 hospital bill was just eradicated out of my life. So if you trust and believe God, he will help you if you ask him to. And he has guidance. There are all kinds of scriptures in the Bible that truly teach us. One of my favorite scriptures, it talks about the ant. How many of y'all, what do y'all do when you see an ant? Kill it, step on it, don't you? Man, you need to watch ants. Ants are very interesting creatures. What they do is ants come out all summer long. They're getting your house, they're getting your car. They have no conscience of where they are when they smell food, because they know that they have to put up in the summer because winter's coming. And that's one lesson I learned from them. Holy Spirit said to me, you've got to learn to put up in the summer because winter is coming. All of us is going to have a winter in our life, because the winter in our life is the time of our life where things are dormant. They haven't totally died. They just get quiet and still. And sometimes our finances fall into that same kind of lull. They get quiet and still. We wonder, where is my money? I work and I work. I go to work every day. And we sing the song, I owe, so off to work I go. That becomes our theme song. And we go and we get paid in 2 weeks. And man, we look, go to the grocery store, you get a couple bags of groceries. On Saturday, by Tuesday, you back at the grocery store wondering what happened. We have got to learn to do some things, and tonight we're going to start out on one of those things, which is going to be our budget, because we have got to learn to budget. You all see the house? Is your house made of money? No? Oh, tomorrow you're going to find out your house really is made of money. But that's tomorrow. Tonight we're going to take a look, and our next one, we're going to be able to do our next one here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look. I apologize, my slides have jumped out of order. Oh, well, it didn't show up. Okay, that's all right. If you all picked up your folders, if you opened up your folder, you will see a budget in that folder. We're going to take a look at that budget in a few minutes, because we're going to, yes ma'am, budget worksheet. We're going to find money in our spending. But the first thing I want to ask you, how many of you actually know your net worth? Do you know what you are worth financially? Do you know how to find out your net worth? No? This is how you find out your net worth. Yeah, you start with your assets. And the asset is all you own. Has no debt on it. You own it outright. So you take that and then your liabilities. And your liabilities are everything you owe. When you subtract it, you get your net worth. You would be amazed to find out what you are actually worth. Some of us will find out when we do that. When you go home this evening, I gave you a form. You can go around your house and say, yes, I own this, I own that. You have your cash on hand, what's in your bank account, your CDs, your money markets, your 401k. Every vehicle that you have finances and you want to also put on that sheet. All of your investments, everything. And on the side of your liabilities, you see the things you pay. Liabilities most of the time are expenses. And then if your house is paid off, it goes over, bless the Lord, in the asset column. And so you would put all that in there, and then you would subtract it, and you would come up with it. So let's do one here, $250,000. That's the house. $7,000. That's the car. They've got $25,000. That's a good chunk of money. But do you not know that most people don't have a 401k? 63% of Americans do not have anything saved for retirement. But guess what? The day of retirement is going to come. We have to start preparing for it. And then they have $5,000 in savings. $287,000 is what they have in their assets. So if it's in their asset, that means they outright own their house, they own their car. And that's the value of the vehicle. Now, these are their debts. They owe $1,000 in credit card debt, bad. Student loans, $20,000. Is student loan debt bad? The only time student loan debt is bad, two events, when you cannot pay it back and when you don't use it the way you should. Because if you have student loan debt, you have increased your value because you become more valuable in the workforce because you've educated yourself, you've gone back to school, you've gotten better skills. Maybe you've changed jobs and you wanted to do something else. Maybe you got to 40 years old and decided, I'm tired of being a secretary and go back to school and be a nurse. We can change our mind midstream. And so, 20,000, and here they have a second home, so they have another mortgage. So they have $150,000 on that. So they have $171,000 here in debt. So we're going to take the 287, subtract the 171, and this is their net value. This family is worth $116,000. Is that a lot of money? Not really. That's a lot of money if you've got it in savings. If you have that sitting in the bank somewhere. I know a young man, he is not even 5, he already has over $100,000 in his 401k. He was well taught. He came from my household. One thing we did with the kids when they were young, we would sit down when we would do bills and it was time to pay expenses. We let them and taught them how to write a check. I've met people that do not know how to write a check. This stuff, it's a book called They Didn't Teach Me That in School. They don't teach kids that in school. A lot of schools today now have Dave Ramsey's program, Financial Peace. So they are learning some more things. So when you get to your net worth, you can start to look at where you are financially. But you can change that trajectory. And this is how we're going to do it. If you were to look at your budget worksheet, and that's what we're going to start looking at right now. So as we look at this budget worksheet, how can we find money in this spending? Do you think we can do it? Oh, this isn't erasing too well, but that's okay. We can turn it around. It'll be out. It'll come off. Now, they have an income from their job. They have $3,100, and that's after tax. So Uncle Sam has gotten his share, and this is what they're bringing home, $3,100. And so when they get paid, these are the expenses. They've got a $1,200 rent or mortgage. The only way you can change that is if you move somewhere that the rents in the area are lower. Probably not going to find that today because rents have gone through the roof. Now, they have a budget of $200 for food. It must only be two of them because I just can't imagine a family of four eating with $200 a month budget. That's kind of low. So we would leave that alone. Now, they have a $350.25 car payment. That's pretty steep for a family that's bringing home $3,100 a month. Maybe the car may have to go. What do you mean my car has to go? Don't keep anything you can't afford. Tomorrow we're going to look at what it really costs you. Can you really afford that car? You know, we love, I love cars, always loved cars since I was a little girl for some reason. And it's not enough to just buy a car, but you have to be able to afford that car. And this family here is having a little problem with that car. So we're going to put a little question mark with that. Next, they have their, see here, some of the expenses here. It costs $91.91 for their registration. Again, that just made that car that much more expensive. If you're struggling with the payment, then you add the insurance amounts on there. That just took your payment even higher. The average car today, the car payment is $523. And we're not talking about a Benz. We're talking about a little small average four-cylinder vehicle. That's your payment. Some people bringing that home every 2 weeks. And they will struggle to be in that car because the car is cute. And it's nice to have a cute car, but if cute break down, how you getting to work? You know, so we've got to always be mindful in our spending. Credit card debt, woo, $450 in credit card. We're going to take a look at what we can do about this because there is something we can do about our credit card debt because we're going to look at ways to get out of debt tonight. They have a personal loan. What kind of personal loan? There are different types of personal loan. Some personal loans could be to your mom or dad, a family member, a friend. Some of them you can go to the bank and ask for a personal loan or a signature loan, and you get that just on your signature. They found you credit worthy. They have a student loan payment of $325. I'm going to put in because actually if they had to, they could negotiate that or something a lot of people don't look into, they could refinance that debt and bring their interest rate down, and that would also bring their payment down. So if they did that, they would probably can get it maybe 2 to 3 points down, and their payment would then drop to about $100. They could probably take close to $200 off there. So we got $200 over here already. We're going to consider this car payment. They can refinance that car, and if they refinance that car for the same amount of time that they have left on that loan and get it anytime you get 1 point or more, it's to your advantage. If they did that, they could drop probably another $100 off of the car. No, probably $150 if they can get it down 1 to 1.5%. So now how much do they owe? How much will their payment drop to? Come on, math people. Yes, ma'am. So if they take that off of there, they're going to have a 200. We've got another $200. We haven't left home yet, and we already found $400 in your spending. We haven't even touched the rest of our budget. Now, they have telephone. Their cell phone bill is $183 a month. That's kind of steep. Everybody in the house must have a phone. Now, you could change your plan and bring that down. If their parents are 50 years old, they can go to Cellular One and get a plan that starts at $20. And everything is unlimited. That would really be a big step up. And the children can still have a good plan. And actually, they are #1 in the nation. And a lot of people never pay any attention to it because they look at them as quote unquote, that's old people's cell phone stuff. You don't have to buy your phone. You can bring your phone with you and take the advantage of it. So if they did that, that's $163 savings. 2, 4, 500. We found $563 already. And you say you don't have any money? There is money in your spending. Utility bills, $125 seem about reasonable, especially if you're living in a warm climate. That might be a whole lot, different now because the utility bills, SMECO and BG&E, all of the energy companies have raised it up because of the price of oil. Now they have a budget of $30 eating out. That's not bad. $50 in clothes. That's not bad. But do you know this books? They don't have a budget to educate themselves. You know why? I wonder, could that be why they're in debt? Could that be why this is $450 in credit card debt? It could be. So if I were them, I would put a little something, even if it's only $20. I would at least put $20 in my budget so I could pick up a book or something along the way. So that will make that $143 now. And we still have a lot of money left over. Now, they don't have public transportation. Do you notice they don't have cable? I wonder why. Because cable is expensive. That's why they don't have cable. People are unplugging, and the reason they're unplugging is because they're finding themselves getting it cheaper with Hulu and different types of subscriptions, Disney Plus and Discovery Plus. They're using different avenues, and you're still watching the same thing. I talked to someone the other day, and they said, well, the reason I don't do that is because Hulu, my show come on Wednesday, and it don't come on Hulu till Thursday. Duh. You're going to pay $80 a month up to DirecTV, could be up to $150 a month because you have to watch something the next day. Does that make any sense at all? She said, no, I agree. So you can do that, and remember, you want to get out of debt. So when we want to get out of debt, this is the word I want you to remember. What's the word? Sacrifice. You're going to have to sacrifice. To sacrifice means to give something in exchange for something else. So we do have to sacrifice. So they have internet. You need the internet today, and that's $60. I don't know where they got that, but I sure like to get it for $60. Hallelujah. Now, they have personal hygiene, $25. That seems reasonable. They have no budget for recreation, so that means they're walking and doing their exercises that way. Or they might already have a home gym. A lot of people today have gyms in their home. They don't have a gym membership. And one thing I noticed, child care says 0. Evidently, they don't have any children. So it's a man and a wife, evidently, a couple. They have $25 for laundry. That's reasonable. Now they got a budget for $100 to travel. Guess what? Sacrifice. You're not going nowhere. We're going to put that over here. We're going to move that $100 they have over here for travel. Because if you sacrifice now, you will get to go anywhere you want in the world eventually. So do the sacrificing now, so on the other side, it'll be to your advantage. And then you can lay out in Hawaii or Acapulco and just bathe in the sun without a care or concern. Isn't that better than having that $100 over there for traveling? You're not going any further in that area than Waldorf. Gas is $4.45 a gallon. You're not getting too far. They have what? $400 in savings. And that's okay. But you need a minimum of $1,000 in savings for your emergency fund. Why? Because emergencies just happen. And they do. You go to get in your car, you turn it over, and it doesn't start. You need a battery. A battery today, you're looking at least $125 and more if you take it to the dealership. If you have $1,000, you'll pay that and you won't sweat it. You won't even blink about it. Okay, fix it. Your heat goes out. They come and they have to work on your heat. The parts is going to cost $200. It's going to cost $100 for them to fix it. That's $300. You pay that $300 out of your emergency fund, you have $700 left. So you're still good. And then you turn around the next day, your next pay period, and you replenish what you spent. You always want to keep that $1,000 on hand. Also, it comes in hand with your auto insurance. If you have a car insurance and you want to bring your insurance down, go for most of them are $250 a year. Take it down and we'll take it up to a $500 deductible. And you will see how quick and how much you will see your insurance drop. Now, you got high-performance cars, very expensive, luxurious cars. They usually want you to go $1,000 for your deductible. And that simply means that before they pay anything, you're going to pay that. So you want to always have that. If need be, that can come out of your emergency fund. No sweat. See how good budgeting is? People think budget is a bad thing. A budget is actually a very good thing because all a budget is a spending plan. You tell your money what to do. Money is neutral. It'll do whatever the holder of it says to do. So they have other spending money or flex type fund. Down here is what? $50, and that's okay. That's for the miscellaneous things. You may have to pick something up here or there. We have found $643 in this budget. And didn't we say we didn't have any money? There is money in your spending. You just have to take a look at what you're spending and find out where your money is going. And when you find out where your money is going, you can reassign your money. Now, this $643 can be used to your advantage, or you can just joyride and go around town and spend it. Only you can make that decision. I hope your decision is to sacrifice. So when you sacrifice, it is to your advantage. It is to the advantage of your spouse. It's to the advantage of your children. If you're single, it's just for your advantage. And in taking that advantage, you are going to gain so much more, so much more. It's going to be exciting, the things you're going to be able to do. Just think of the travel you'll be able to do if you save $643 a month to be able to go on travel. Man, you could get halfway to Boston with that, because that's about, tickets are going up right now because of the gas prices. But it's not going to be this way always. Things in the world are cyclical. That means they go around, and they go up, and they also come back down. Right now, we're in an upswing, or what they call in the stock market, it's a bear market. So in the bear market, things are going up. In the bull market, things are going down. I'll show you how I taught myself how to remember that when I started reading up on doing investment. When you go after a bear, the first thing he does is what? He swing up at you. so you know it's up. And what does a bull do? He puts his head down before he bucks up and knocks people around. So that helps you to remember the up and the down. The bear is going to be up and the bull is going to be down. And all you have to do is watch it. Have you all started investing? Have you started looking at making any type of investment? You do? There are all different kinds of ways today. Investing is really easy, but we'll look at that a little later. Now that we have our network, we know we have $116,000. They have all of these expenses over here. If they really wanted to, they could take some of this $116,000 that they have in the bank and pay off all their debt and live a life of being totally debt-free. But the truth of the matter is the majority of American people will not do that. Over 87% of Americans do not have $400 for an emergency saved. That's kind of sad when you work every day and you can't put your hands on $400. Majority of them have said, that I read last night, if they had to come up with $400, they would have to go to their parents. Some of the adults said they would have to ask their children. We don't want our children to help us out. But if you need it, you need it, right? But we want to be able to stand on our own. And there's only one way we can stand on our own feet and do things the way we need to do them, and that is through sacrifice. We are going to have to learn to sacrifice. And the reason we want to sacrifice because we want a better life. We want our trajectory to be greater than it is today. Now that our budget is looking good, we have $643 bonus money. I call that bonus money. That's a good bonus. I'm telling you. We almost got $700 that we have to play with. Now, what are we going to do with that? Are we going to put it in the bank? No, we're going to the mall. No. That's exactly right. No. We are going to do something that we're going to get ready to take a look at, and we are going to start a new budget. And with your new budget, you're going to put all the same categories you see here on your budget worksheet. There's another one that you can use at home, a budget worksheet that's in your folder. I'd like you to take that home. You can make copies of it and start your own budget if you've never budgeted before. The thing about a budget is this. A budget is friendly. People think budgets are a burden. How can it be a burden? Because you create it. Anything you create has to be good. Why? When you're the creator, you can make it do whatever you want. And that's what you do with a budget. You put everything in that budget you want to do. Give your money a mission. One budget I use is Dave Ramsey. You go to www.everydollar.com. If you're a techie, you'll love that. It takes less than 10 minutes to set up your own budget on everydollar.com. My budget for next month has already been created. It's already done. I do what is called a zero balance budget. With every dollar, when you do your budget and you do it correctly, at the bottom of the budget on the corner to the left, it'll say you have an every dollar budget. That means you're going to get a big green check. You spent every dollar. You gave every dollar a mission. You can also do it the old-fashioned way, pen and paper or pencil and paper, and write your budget out. It really doesn't matter how you create your budget. You just need to create your budget. People may not understand why they want to have a budget, but again, budgets are your friend. Millionaires live off of budgets. Dave Ramsey tells everybody, when you listen to his show, he always says, he is worth over $21 million. He still lives on a budget. And the reason he lives on a budget, he said, because he is afraid, because he remembers bankruptcy. He remembers where it came from. So he and his wife, Miss Sharon, live off a budget. Now, if you're worth $21 million, do you really have to live off a budget? No. But he chooses to, and he makes the sacrifice because it's to his advantage all the time. Likewise, it is to our advantage to live off a budget. Budgeting is simply money management. What do you mean? I'm going to tell you some books. This is one of my favorite books. It's called Money Management for Those Who Don't Have Any. And when you start to read his book, these books are by James L. Paris. He has another one called Living Financially Free, and this is an all-time favorite. This is an older one of his books. Financial CPR. Man, some of our finances need CPR, need a little help. 7 steps to avoid a financial crisis. Those 3 books will change your life. You can even go on Amazon and you can get a used one probably under $5 today. But get a hold of some of this information and sit and read it. His books are very simple and plain. They're very clear and easy to understand. And his examples are just wonderful in there. And he shows you how to get out of debt. He shows you how to invest. He's wonderful at that. Give your money an assignment. As we went through this family's budget, I'm going to call them the Smith family. As we went through the Smith family budget, he and his wife have been working and bringing home $3,100 a month, and they feel like they were strapped. But they're sitting around with $643 in their budget, and all they had to make was 4 little changes. See, change can be small, but it make great impact. All you have to do is make small changes to see great impacts in your life. You can have, where's my phone? At your fingertip, your budget. Everywhere I go, when I spend, I do this. I get to my car. I got a ton of different apps on here. And the first thing I do is this. I open every dollar. And I record every dollar I spend. The Bible, Christians, the Bible tells us that we're supposed to know the conditions of our flocks and our herd. Know the state of your flocks and your conditions of your herd. In other words, in the finance world, that would mean know where your money is and know what your money is doing. You need to know the condition of your finances for your household. Why? Because winter is coming. And keep it at your fingertips. Put it on your phone. And that helps you to avoid busting your budget. So this is how we find money in our budget. Before we move on, anybody have any questions? Have any budget questions at this time? Not one? So all of y'all budgeting? You live by a budget? Then that's good. Amen. That's excellent. So, and if you are watching and you would like to put a question out, go ahead and put your question and we'll look at them. As a matter of fact, I'll bring it up so we can answer your questions while we're here this evening. We don't want to forget you're with us. And we want you to participate. And as you're coming up with your questions, because we want everybody that's watching online, we want your life to change too. And we want your life to change for the better. It is wonderful to be able to live a life being debt-free. It really is. Owing no man nothing but to love him. I had it pulled up, but I couldn't get it to copy. And it's not bragging, but when we start to look at how and we're going to get ready to go into talking about credit, how we utilize our credit and what our credit says about us, I had to laugh. I looked at all the boxes, and the last box, it tells how much credit you're utilizing. And this is what my box said. 0. I'm not using any credit. I have the credit card debt and my life is over. Cash is king. Cash is welcome everywhere in the world. The value of cash changes if you go over to France, but it's still welcome. And this took years to ascertain that, just like my credit score. I had a credit score starting out under 350, down. That wasn't good. I couldn't get a pencil on credit. We have a question. Let me pull them up. Pull my groups up here. Okay. Is your emergency funds the same as your savings? No. Your emergency fund should be separate from your savings. As a matter of fact, when we get to the area in a little bit concerning debt, you're going to move all of your savings from savings to debt reduction. I know that's scary, isn't it? It'll make you shake in your boots. What do you mean? You want me to move all my money from that money? Okay, make a choice, make a decision, sacrifice today so your tomorrow will be better. Oh, okay. And so as when we get to the place where we're at an area where we can start doing debt reduction, you're going to be glad to move that money. Now, what on earth is credit? And why do we want credit? Do we need credit? Credit is the ability to borrow money or to access goods or services with the understanding you will pay later. I call credit card a fake life. Why is it fake? It just delays things, and then it helps you to live a life that you don't own. Wouldn't you rather own it than borrow it? I look at people on Facebook sometimes and on Snapchat and all of these different things they're on, and they're like, you see them in front of luxury cars and stuff. If you went to their house, you know that wouldn't be in their driveway. They do not drive a $250,000 Phantom. But they want us to believe they do. People do the same things with credit card. It's a saying, and they said, oh, I do this and I buy that. Oh, my neighbor just bought a new car. And then their family run out and get a new car. They call it keep up with the Joneses. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses because they just refinance. They don't own that stuff. Most people are just moving their debt around. They're not getting rid of it. The key is this. If you're moving your debt, you are not eradicating your debt. It's like you put I don't know if most of you have already, but you're going to take your winter clothes and you're going to put them away, or you've already, because we've come into the spring season. We didn't get rid of them. We just took them to the basement. People are not getting rid of their debt. They just moving it over there where they don't have to look at it all the time. But the debt doesn't disappear. The debt is still there, and the debt is ticking up, and it becomes a ticking time bomb. So, what is a credit score? Let me see if I can get it to wake up. Every one of us have a credit score. Yes. And your credit score is made up of different areas. And the reason you have a credit score is because there is an agency there. Uh-oh, it's lost it again. Let's see if we can't move it back over here. Okay. All right. In your folder, you will see a credit score range. And David is going to put it on so our online viewers will also be able to take a look at the credit score. The credit score model shows us the percentages of how our credit is put together, how do they apply it? Why am I getting this stuff? Why is somebody keeping track of what I'm doing? Because they want to know about your credit worthiness. They want to know if they can trust you. If you go into the bank to get a loan, they need to know if you have the ability to repay the debt, if they give you the debt and put you in debt. If you already have debt or you feel like you're drowning in debt, please, I encourage you, don't go any further in debt. This is what you will find on your credit report if you look at it. These are the factors that make up the credit score. Your bill paying history, your current unpaid debt, the number and type of loan accounts you have. That means from the first time you ever opened a credit card, when you were 17 in college, it's on your credit report. How long you have had your loan accounts open, how much of your available credit you are using, or that's called a utilization. New applications for credit. If you've opened new credit, whether you have had a debt sent to collection, foreclosure, or bankruptcy, and how long ago. Now, all of these things may not make sense, but as we look more into credit, it will start to become more clear to you. Why is paying your bill history of any reverence to anyone except for you? Well, when we go to the bank, they'll look at your portfolio and your credit application, and they have to take it before the board, and the board has to decide, are you worth giving credit? You're coming in there and you're asking them for $10,000 for a $10,000 loan. $10,000. You know, sometimes we'll go and ask for a loan, and when people ask us for something according to our application, we get indignant or we get offended. Well, what they need to know that for? Why they need to know what's in my 401k? Because they're looking for a way that if you default on that loan, how would they get paid? They are always looking at the end result, even though you are just looking at getting what you want. In most cases, we can walk out there with the check, or they'll put it in one of our accounts for us. Then you have your current unpaid debt. The reason they look at your unpaid debt is because if you have 12 credit cards and all of them are maxed out but 3, and those 3 add up to maybe $20,000, $30,000, if they give you that $10,000, you have $30,000 that you still have open that you can utilize. So the banks and the lending institutions are looking at you like, they are a risk. R-I-S-K. And the reason you become a risk is because you have this 30K sitting over here, and it's open. So if we lend you the money, you could go use our money up. And then that 30K over there, they're looking at it with a side eye like, no, you don't have 30K anymore. You actually have 20K because we're coming for our 10. And so that's one reason why that is part of your credit score makeup. The number and type of loan accounts you have. Whew, this is a big one. Y'all want to laugh? I had 17 credit cards. And I only actually used maybe 3 of them. So I had 14 credit cards with open credit limits. So when you go to get a loan for a car or furniture or anything else you may want, they're looking at this chick got 14 credit cards with some limits on it that she could do some damage. Why is she in here asking for more money? And they will do what? The big word. Deny you. And you can have a decent credit score and they still would deny you because of your utilization. You have too much credit debt and too many open accounts. So sometimes that can work in your favor, and sometimes it also can work against you. So you want to be careful. When we talk about, probably we're going to take a break in maybe 10 minutes. At 7 o'clock, we'll take a little break. The reason you want to do that, later we'll get some understanding that you can use those credit cards and get out of debt. And I'm going to show you how to do it the right way so your credit score doesn't take a hit. I had to learn that. How long you've had your loan accounts open, because they want to know you have a history now of paying people on-time payments. They can see that, they do have credit worthiness. They are doing it. They are taking care of business. And so they see that you're paying your bills, so they won't have a problem lending you money. You won't get the big D, but you'll get the big A, approved. Now, how your credit is utilized is this. It looks at how much of your credit limit you are using. I'm going to turn this around in a minute. Now, if you have a credit card limit, say $2,000, you go and you charge up let's say $1,000. You charge that. So you have $1,000 left, correct? Is my math right? So you have $1,000 left. Now, you want to go and get a loan. They're looking at you like, we'd like to give you the loan, but we're looking at your utilization of your credit. You are 50% half use of your credit limit. You're going to get the big D, because you are using up half of your limit, which tells them you're going to be a higher risk than somebody that only has $200 against their limit. Why is that? Because they see you're struggling. And if you got 4 cars like that and they're almost at their max, they know you're struggling. I'm going to give you a couple questions to ask yourself. It's an easy way to find out if you're finding yourself struggling financially. Number 1, do I have to ask for financial help? Do I have to seek assistance? Ask yourself that. Can I pay all my bills myself? Are all my bills current? Do I have any savings at all? Am I living paycheck to paycheck? If you answered 1 to any of those questions, you are struggling financially. It doesn't seem like it though, doesn't it? Because you're just holding on. You're paying the bills. They may not be on time, but you're paying them. You're struggling. Instead of struggle, change your struggle into a sacrifice and get the debt off your back. People used to say, sadly, some people were going through addictions, and they used to say they have a monkey on your back. When you have debt, it's worse than a monkey, because a monkey will jump off if you see a tree. Debt won't get off you until it's paid. So that's the difference. We want to get to a place where we will sacrifice, and get this debt out of your life. I can't encourage you enough to make the sacrifice to move the debt in your life and get free. Debt-free living, that's the life for me. I don't know if you all are old enough to remember the song Green Acres, the show? You remember? And she said, Green Acres, that's the life for me. She loved to be out there and fancy-free. You can be fancy-free when you don't have debt. People with no debt have this. Let me turn it around. It's good that it's on wheels. They have, the cover's still on, so we'll go ahead. I'll wash it during the break. They have options. when you don't have any debt and you wake up and you don't feel like going to work, guess what? You get to take the day off because you don't have any debt. You don't, okay. People be so concerned that they're losing something. You aren't losing anything. You don't have any debt. All you have are expenses. Expenses are going to be with us always. Say always. Why? Expenses never end. Unless, of course, you own an energy company or the water tower or something like that. Or now if you have a home and you have property or you in a rural area and you have a well, you don't have a water bill. So that's one expense you won't have. But you're going to have an electricity bill, and without electricity, you don't get any water because it needs a pump. And the pump takes electricity. So they work hand in hand. But you still have options. You can lay there and decide, I'll pay my electric bill, and I'm going to the park, and I'm going to run today. Everybody in the office, and you're at home or you're at the park, go and take your puppy to the dog park because you have options, because you don't have all the weight of debt on your back, which is a good thing. So it's 7 o'clock. Let's take a 10-minute break, and then we'll continue on, and we're going to look at strategies to repair, correct, and rebuild your credit. This is the area that most people really want to get into because people are tired of debt. So let's take a break, and we'll be right back with you.
You cannot lie. Here it is, I'm ready. Exceedingly, abundantly, above all you can ask or think, according to the power that worketh in you. God is able to do just what He said He would do. He's going to fulfill every promise to you. Here's a promise: don't give up on God, 'cause He won't give up on you. Y'all sing. Clap your hands in the room. He's able. He's able. Yes, Lord. Exceeding abundantly above all you can ask or think, according to the that worketh in you. Oh, God is able to just what He would do. I feel God. He's going to fulfill every promise to you. Hey, don't give up on God, 'cause He won't give up on you. Everybody there. He's able. I know He is. He's able. He's able. Hey, if you know you serve an able God, will you help us lift it up in the room tonight? God is able. God is able to just what He said He would do. He's going to fulfill every promise. Take courage, family. Don't give up on God, 'cause He won't give up. Yeah, He's able. Let's go. Hey, I know He's he's able. Hey, I know he's able. He's able.
He's able.
I know he's able. God is able.
God is able to
Just what he
just
said.
what he said he would do.
He's going to fulfill
He's going to fulfill
every promise.
every promise to you.
Don't give up on God,
Give up on God,
'cause he won't give
he
up.
won't give up.
Sing up.
He's able.
I know he's able.
I know he's able.
He's able.
He's able.
We're doing it one more time. Let's go, CJ. God is able. Come.
God is able to
Just
do
what he
just what he
said.
said he would do.
He's going to fulfill.
He's going to fulfill every promise to you.
Don't you?
Don't give up on God, 'cause he won't give up.
He's able.
He's able.
I know he's able. No, no, no.
I know he's able. I know he's able.
He's able.
He's able.
We've been singing too long. We got to get out of here. This is what I want you to sing. He's able. Everybody sing.
He's able.
Do it again. Sing. Come on, y'all sing.
He's able.
Do it again. Sing. Do it again. Everybody sing up. He's able.
He's able.
Everybody sing. Don't stop believing. Do it again. Oh, sing. Yes, Lord. He's able.
He's able.
One more time, y'all. We gotta go. He's able.
He's able.
Everybody say he's able.
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 He's able
He's able.
to do it.
He's able.
He's able
He's able.
to fix your problem. Try Jesus. He won't fail you. Try Jesus. He won't fail you.
He's able.
Able to fix your need. He's able to supply your need. No mountain too high, no river too wide, no valley too low. Wherever you go, try Jesus, try Jesus, try Jesus, try Jesus, try Jesus. He won't fail you. He's mother to the mothers, father to the fathers. He's a friend to the friendless. Yes, he is. Have you any rivers? Seen uncrossable. Have you any mountains? You can't turn them through. God specializes in things that seem impossible. Try Jesus. Try Jesus. Try Jesus. Try Jesus. Try him and see. Won't he make a way? Won't he open the door that's been shut in your face? You can ask the woman with the issue of blood. She will tell you that God is able. You can ask Bartimaeus at the side of the road, and he will tell you that God is able. You can talk to Lazarus tied in the grave. He will bear witness that God is able. If you believe it, clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Come in today. Come on real quick.
Exceedingly, abundantly, above all that we ask or exceedingly, abundantly, above all that we ask or think, exceedingly,
Let the band have some real quick tonight. Y'all gotta clap real quick. Let's go, let's go. Clap, clap, clap. Don't do that. He's able. He's able. I gotta go. He's able. He's able. He's able.
He's able.
Everybody
He's able.
everybody sing.
He's able.
Do it again, y'all. Just one more time. Do it again. Sing.
He's able.
Do it again. Sing. He's able.
He's able.
One more time.
He's able.
Last time, y'all.
He's able.
Everybody say, he's able.
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 Do you know he can do it?
He's able.
Do you know he can do it?
He's able.
Do you know he can do it?
He's able.
Do you know he can do it?
He's able.
He's able to save your life. He's able to make you whole. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. I know never do after that. I know gotta do after that. I know not to do after that. I will remember you going to call on Jesus. He will fix your problem. Trust.
I want to go ahead and I will answer the questions I have before me. And yes, it will be available on our website and on YouTube. So you can go back and review later. And make sure you take good notes because this is going to feed you later. And the second question is, why does your credit rating fluctuate when you haven't created any new debt? That's a very good question. The reason it fluctuates, you don't have to create new debt to have your credit score hit. Your credit score can drop for many different reasons. We're going to take a look at one. If you get inquiries, you go somewhere, you look at a car, they do a soft pull. A soft pull is simple. It just means they didn't take everything. They may ask you for your social security number, and they just take a soft look at your credit to see if you are credit worthy. And then they can make a decision. Also, how many of you receive in the mail constantly? I think almost daily. I don't know how the credit card companies stay in business except for they charge all that interest. How many of you get the pre-approved credit requests in your every day? I mean, just tons of them. You can go in and have that turned off. If you open them up and look at them, it'll ask you if you would like not to be contacted. It's up to you if you decide to say no and go on and to the website and click it and have them remove you from their list. People get into trouble doing that because they've been pre-approved, and pre-approved doesn't always mean you will be approved. They just took a soft look. They haven't did a hard pull. When they do a hard pull of your credit report, that will tell them the story, and they will see, like we're getting ready to take a look at, they will see the entirety of your credit report and the history behind it. Now, the first step in getting out of debt to be able to repair your debt, correct your debt, or to rebuild your credit is this. You must admit to yourself you've made a mistake, or you've made many financial mistakes. How many of you out there have made some financial mistakes? Go ahead and tell the truth. I'm not sitting in your living room. We've all made financial decisions that were not good for us, every last one of us. Warren Buffett, I love to hear Warren Buffett. I love to read his articles. He's a very, very wise man, and he's one of the richest men in the world. So when Warren Buffett speaks, he's like E.F. Hutton. Everybody stops, and they listen, because he's proven himself over and over again. And so when he says things, I tend to really pay close attention. And he talked one time about credit. And he was saying how people will hold on to credit, but credit has the grip on them. And that's how credit feels. You think you've got it, but it got you. So I hope that will answer your question. Different things will bring your credit rating down too. If you close an account. And didn't I tell y'all on Sunday I had an 850 credit score? I had a perfect credit score. I looked at it last night, and guess what my credit score dropped to? 833, 7 points. And I was like, oh, snap, what happened? I'm getting ready to teach a class. I'd have told you, I don't want to be a liar. I know my score was 850, and I know it was 850 because if you look down underneath it, it'll show you where where it rated you, your last score was. And 2 weeks ago, my score was 850. The reason it changed is because I requested 2 accounts to be closed. And you can do that. You can contact the credit card company, and you can tell them, and this is what you need to say. I am no longer using that credit card, so I need you to close my account. And upon closing my account, I would like you to send me a letter that states this: close at the request of the consumer. Because if it looks like they closed it, your credit rating could take a hit. Now, even though I told them that I have the letter, they sent me an email first, I called them back up and I said I want a letter. Everybody don't get to read your emails. So you also can put a statement. I have a statement on my credit accounts because of this. I've had people hack my accounts, and since they hacked my account, that's identity theft. And because of identity theft, I've had a statement. If you out there have had identity theft, someone tried to use your social security number or something, I recently had an entity call and tell me that it's a reporting agency that I've been using, and they let me know that my social is on the black web. I was not aware, which means someone has gotten hold of my social security number and they've been using it. So I like to play detective. I used to work at parole and probation. I know how to do a background check. And so I started looking at some stuff and going in and bringing up stuff. And one thing I found out the man's name. I should say it, but I won't. And he lives in Glen Burnie, Maryland. And he's been trying to use my social to open credit. Go figure. If you want to be me, come be me. But I'm an expert at being me. You do not want anybody to get your social and have it out on the black web. Because if they're using it, that means they have sold it or lent it out to other people. And you don't know until you start to look at your credit report. And so that's why it is imperative that you look at your credit report. Review it yearly. You want to always go in and take a look. And you need to take a look at your credit to see if there are any inaccuracies, number one, on your credit report. Now, once you've decided that, okay, I made a mistake, second, you have got to have a change of your mindset. You've got to get out of that I owe, and off the work I go mentality. You've got to change and say, I know I owe, but this debt is coming up off me. I'm going to pay off every debt. I'm going to pay every bill I owe because I am going to be debt-free. I'm going to live debt-free the next year. Put a time limit on it. With time management, if you don't give a date, you will never meet the date. The answer to time management is everything has a date. And once everything has a date, then you can establish order. And so once you do that, you want to start a plan. And remember what a plan is. A plan is having the ability to tell whatever you're organizing what to do. There are 3 credit reporting agencies: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. I'll say them again. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You want to go to all 3 of their websites and look at all 3 reports. You will be amazed that one may have something that the other one does not. Some of them look at different areas when they're compiling your credit report. All of them kind of have a snapshot of a little bit of everything we talked about. They definitely have your credit history of payments. They have your current debt balances. They have the number of loans you have. Some of them look at, more important, how long you've had the account. But longevity is good. It shows that you have a history of paying and you've paid that debt off. You may go back and utilize that debt again, but they see that you've paid it and you've paid it in full. So that works in your benefit. Now, then you see the inaccuracies. Now what are you going to do? Most people just sit down and get upset. Some people cry, but that is not the thing to do. What you want to do is now you want to go to the website and you want to do a dispute. And one way you can do a dispute is online. You click it, you fill the form out, and you start to, they ask you for your explanation of why. Well, I paid that bill in 1963, and it's still on my credit report. Everything almost rolls off every 7 years. And everybody isn't Christian, but you know that's a Christian principle? Because in the Bible, every 7 years, the earth had to rest. And all debts were forgiven. Wouldn't that be wonderful if they would start doing that now? Business world, listen, can you give us a debt-free, clean slate every 7 years? Wouldn't that be marvelous? But I'm here to tell you, that's not going to happen. The only way debt leaves is if you pay it. And so you want to go and you want to do the dispute. You want to tell the agency that you have some inaccurate information on my credit report. You tell them the dates that you paid it, the times you paid it off. You give them any information you can to prove that it's inaccurate. They have 30 days to look it up, take care of it, and expunge it or to remove it off of your credit report. Now, if it is something that you did, and it is correct and it's on your credit report, the only resolve is you have to wait 7 years for it to roll off. Because every 7 years, the data come up and that negative information will roll off your credit report. And that happens with all 3 credit reporting agencies. Or you can do it's called a 609, which is a letter of dispute. I started to put one in here, and then I thought about it. You actually can look at Dave Ramsey's website, or you can Google it, and you can get a letter of dispute. All it is saying the account number and when you opened it, how long you've had it, things to that nature. And then you put your explanation in there of why it should be removed off of your credit. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be extremely successful. So that bears the question of this. Do I need a credit correcting agency? I get this question a lot. This is according to Doris Sullivan. You don't have to believe it. But I feel this way. I got myself in debt. I'm going to get me out of it. Now, if you need a credit fixing agency, do so. The issue I take with them is they charge you a fee, and some of them charge hefty fees. And though they charge you, I thought about it. Well, if they're going to charge me $100 a month, I'm going to send my payment to them. They're going to pay people. And this is by experience. Years back, I used the agency. I won't say their name. And I sent the money to them. They paid my bills. But guess what? They weren't paying my bills on time. I was already doing that. That's why I needed them. And I'm like, man. And that's when it hit me. You know, I can do what they're doing. I was already sending money to the people. But then something magical happened in my life. I learned to negotiate. And so what I did, I started calling my credit card companies, and I told them this. Life happens. At the time I was going through, I was unemployed. I was working for oh God, do I have to go there? Yeah, I do. It might help somebody. I was working for a CPA firm at home in Annapolis. And he had almost laid everybody else off. It just got down to a few where we were looking over in each other's office like, who's going to be next? And it got down to, I think it was 3 or 4 of us left. And the one young lady, I was like, well, no, he dating her. She going to be here. And so I was like, I looked over there at the other guy, and he looked at me, and we were like, well, process of elimination. I was the new kid on the block. So guess who got let go? Me. Even though I got let go, my bills didn't stop, my rent didn't stop becoming due. Because we lose our jobs, because we have a life event, life doesn't stop happening. So what we have to do is step up to the plate, take accountability. So I got on the phone and I started calling people that I owed and my debtors, and I told them, I said, look, I got laid off. I'm not going to be able to pay the full amount. How about if I do this? Now, I had a little bit of savings in my account, and this is what I did. And this is a method you can use. It's called negotiating. You can call them and say, look, I know I owe $600. The reality is I am not going to be able to pay you $600. Now, we can do this 2 ways. I can give you $10 a month until I'm working again, or I have $285 that I can pay you, and we consider this done. What do you think they did? They took the $280. You know why? A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, because you got it. They knew, is she going to give us $5, $10 a month? How long is it going to take us to get like that $600? And not only get the principal amount, but the interest that's compounded on top of that principal amount. So it was advantageous for them, and it was to my advantage as well. So don't feel like you have to be stuck with your debt. You can negotiate with these companies and try to negotiate with them before you become delinquent. Now, if you become delinquent, I'm going to say this quiet. Don't y'all tell everybody I told you. Wait till it's really delinquent and call them. But do it before they call you. Because when they start to call you, they've already put it over into collections. So you wait a couple months of not paying them, then call them. But do not spend that money. Let that money sit in the bank, because that is your negotiating tool. Use that money that's sitting there to offer them. Now, they may counter you and say, nope, we can't take $280, but we can take $310. You going to let $30 stop you from getting a $600 debt out? No, of course not. If you have borrowed, I bet you'll find that $30. Some of you got $30 sitting around your house and don't even know it. We're going to look at savings tomorrow. Y'all know y'all got money in your house? Start looking in that sofa. You may find $1 in change. Well, every time you go to the store, break $1. I have a jar, and on Fridays or Saturday, I empty my wallet with all my change. I took my jar to the bank one time. It had over $300 in change, and it was effortless. Change does what? Add up. So that's one. That was a freebie. I didn't even charge y'all for that one. So you want to do that. Next, we're going to look at, after we file our dispute After we've negotiated with them, always ask them to follow up when you speak to them and take notes. Okay, I'll answer your question in 1 minute. Always take notes. Get the person's name, because when you file your dispute, you don't want to say, I talked to somebody. You want to be very specific. You want to plan that case just like you're going to court. And when you go to court, you have to be prepared. So when you're ready to negotiate, you go in that room, you sit down at your table, and you be prepared, and you present your case. And I can almost guarantee you they're going to work with you. They rather work with you than against you, because it costs them money to hire lawyers, even though they have lawyers on contingency. But guess what? When you have them chasing you and you end up in court to get a judgment against you, guess who pays? You do. You pay your principal, you're going to pay the interest due, you're going to pay their legal bills, and you're going to pay your legal bills. So it's easier for you to negotiate and get it taken care of. So here's two little known facts. Closed accounts paid as agreed stay on your Equifax credit report for up to 10 years. They're the only one that does that. I don't know why. They're closed, they're done. But it can also work to your advantage. If you're starting over again and you have no credit, that is a showing of a credit history that you've had good history on paying your bills on time at some point. Some creditors will look at that and they will approve you. Go to your credit union when you want to borrow money, and go to your credit union quite often. You know, I went to my credit union so much that I knew Miss Dean by name. Now when we go out, see her in the grocery store, hey, Miss Sullivan, became personal with her. And it paid off. When I had started getting myself out of debt, I wanted to get a loan. I wanted a loan for exactly $500 because I wanted to start over. And everybody turned me down. Well, because she thought I was such a nice lady. She said, you know what? I see you trying. I sat in the office talking to her, and tears running down my face, and said, I've paid the people I owe. I've done my work. I've negotiated. I've got the debt out the way. And she said, hold on. We have our meeting on Tuesday. That was on Friday. She said, Miss Sullivan, I'm going to go in and I'm going to fight for you. She went in on Tuesday, and she called me after their board meeting, because they go into a board meeting to see who they're going to loan money to. She called me up and she said, Miss Sullivan, come get your money. Look, an adversary, y'all. God will put people in your path that will be able to assist you. Get to know your banker. Make them your friend. Find out what kind of coffee they drink and stop by and drop them a cup. With COVID, make sure the top on it. And just be a blessing to them. Take them some donuts to the people at the bank. Let them get to know who you are. It'll be to your benefit later when you need it. Now, the question is, when you negotiate, does that affect your credit? Yes, it affects your credit to your advantage, because what they will write is they'll say, paid as per agreed. So you don't have a hit against your credit. It's actually going to be a plus. And it will also start your credit rating going up, because now you're showing positive action instead of having negative reporting. Every time you miss a payment, it is a negative hit against you, and your credit score starts to go down. When you start to make on-time payments, your credit score will start to go up. The second little known fact is this, and we have President Obama to thank for this. He was the one that signed the National Credit Act into effect. And it also states medical debt is not allowed to be on the credit report, so your score does not take a hit. People have so many medical bills, and they kept reporting them to the credit agencies, and people were not able to get credit because of the fact those medical bills was holding them up and holding them back from being able to buy a house, buy a car, buy furniture, whatever they wanted to do on credit, they could not do. Have you seen that in your life out there? Have you seen that you've been having the problem? Well, take a look at your credit report and see what is the holdup. And then start to look at it closer and be proactive and not reactive. You make the move towards them instead of them having to call you and your kids tell them you're not home. You step to them. Now, this is what we want to do. One method, it used to be called the avalanche, when it was Larry Burkett. If you look in your folder, I believe I put it in there. If not, I will make sure you get it. It is the debt snowball. That's what it's called now. It used to be called the avalanche. And the reason it was called the avalanche is because they would line up all their credit cards according to interest rate. So if they owed Sears and the credit rating was, say, 19%, it would go first. If they owed JCPenney 16%. If they owed Citibank, isn't this something? I had all these credit cards, y'all. I don't have them anymore. Thank you, Jesus. Well, I do still have Citi, but they have a zero balance, so I don't worry about them. Citi is maybe, let's say 12%. Now, this is the avalanche. You would pay this bill, Sears bill, off first because it has the highest interest rate. So the idea behind the avalanche was, as you pay the highest one down, you're saving, and you're going to take that money from Sears being, let's say, $20 a month. And this bill is $15 a month. And this bill, they could be the same, $15 a month. Remember, you've got to set a budget when you sacrifice. We went through that budget and we found $643. You may not find $643 in your budget. Say you find $70 in your budget. This now becomes the start or the seed. I know it's hard for you all out there to see, but this $70 will be the seed that starts you getting out of debt. You already have budgeted $20 to pay Sears. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take the $20 minimum payment plus the $70. Your new payment is what? $90. If you owe Sears $500, you're going to have that knocked out in no time. With the avalanche, then you got 19% wiped away. You're going to go down to your next bill. You're going to take that $90 and you're going to add it. That's a what, 105? Look at there. You done went from $90 to $105 now, and you're going to start paying $105. You always, everything under the bill you're working on, you're only going to pay the minimum amount. Then that bill is out of the way. Once that's out of the way, you bring that 105 down here, add it to that 15. So you got 120. And if that's a $300 bill, you're going to have that paid off in less than 3 months. So you see how the avalanche is? Well, the avalanche is, you know, when you're skiing, everything folds in, it starts to fold in. But then Larry Burkett came along, and Dave Ramsey has really made popular. My group should remember this. The debt snowball. The difference in the avalanche and the debt snowball is just inverted. You take the lowest bill, and it becomes the first bill you will concentrate on paying. So let's say Sears, $500. The payment, $20. That's your principal balance. This is your minimum payment. When you add the 20 and the 70, you still have your seed. You're always going to start with that seed. And 90 becomes your new payment. The difference in the debt snowball and the avalanche is this. You are going to get gratification by paying those smaller bills off first. You're going to get excited. That $500 is going to be gone. Well, no, that was the highest bill. City was our lowest bill. So let me change that. City was the 200, I think it was $200. Okay. So City would now become number 1. JCPenney will become number 2. And the last bill you pay off would be Sears, the highest bill, number 3. So your 500, your 350, and the 200. You would get such satisfaction with the debt snowball, because what happens with a snowball? Starts off small, right? And then as it rolls down the hill, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That's the same idea with your debt. As you start paying from lowest to highest, the amounts get greater and greater. And before you know it, the snowball has wiped out. Woo, I'm getting happy, y'all. All my debt is gone. And when all your debt is gone, you have what? Your seed money. You have your bill money. And guess what? You have hope. You can see a better day. You owe nobody nothing. When you look at your credit report, you will see also the utilization, 0. That means you are using nothing credit. And you are at the point that cash is king. And when cash is king, you can do what? Anything. Because you have what? Options. You can go to work if you want to. Here's a word. How many of you all want to do this? I'm going to make it big so you all out there can see. Say it all together now. Retire. There are some people that have played their cards so well. I read an article yesterday. The young man is 34, and he has retired. He has over 500, he said he has $564,000 in a 401k. I have shoes older than him. How did he get $564,000 in a 401k? Well, tomorrow you learn. He has side hustles. How many of you have a side hustle? A side hustle is something that makes money. If it doesn't make money, listen to me real close. It's called HOBBY. It's a hobby. If it isn't making money, it's a hobby. And guess what? Hobbies cost you. Side hustles pay you. To get out of debt, you want to create a side hustle. Sister Felicia, don't you remember what was the biggest job I kept going over? 2 years ago. To go to work for who? Hobby Lobby. Why? They were paying the highest salary at the time. But now, guess what? Everybody's running to Target. Target is starting at $24 an hour. That's a nice little side hustle for a weekend job, to pull in some cash to eradicate debt out of your life. The key with this, with your side hustle, is you won't have to do it forever. Do it enough and long enough to pay your bills. If you've got a gift, work your gift. God has given us gifts for a reason. And those gifts are indeed, as she said, yes, to retire. Uh-oh, Target now. She ready to go to Target, y'all. Target, if you're watching, I want 10% for the free advertising. And I'm sending you great employees. So you have options. You'll have an option that you can do anything you desire to do in life. You can lay on the beach. And one great thing that happens when you get to a place where you have no debt, you can start to do, and we will look at legacy tomorrow. That'll be the last area we look at, legacy and wealth building. You will be able to have philanthropy operating in your life. You can become one of the most happiest, prompt to do, ready to give at any time givers. You'll be able to bless people. And that is really what getting out of debt should be one of the reasons you want to do. You want to be able to support the kingdom and kingdom work, your church, if you belong to a church. And if you don't belong to a church, some people don't actually belong to a church, but they listen to people all the time. Bless that church. Bless that ministry. Help them bring to pass the vision God has placed in that ministry. And that's why we want to get out of debt. To me, that should be your number one reason to wanting to get out of debt, to be able to help somebody else. You can't help anybody if you're handcuffed yourself. But when you get free, you want to help people just because you're happy to help them. And so as you continue to do it, amen. You'll be able to not only help people, but you will have opportunities to do things that you always wanted to do. Maybe you wanted to become an entrepreneur. Start your own thing. P-R-N-E-U-R. As soon as I can write. And as an entrepreneur, you create your own hours. You work when you want to work. You work if you don't want to work. You can hire people or you don't have to hire people. Let me give you some free tax information. If you're an entrepreneur and you have a home business, or even if you had a business in a building somewhere, guess what? Hire your children. They are of benefit to you. You can pay your children a salary. You can write it off on Schedule C tax time, and you still get to claim them as dependents. Sound like a double blessing to me. I read a story. The lady said her daughter is 7. She pays her daughter $10 an hour. Child labor. She's getting paid to do her mother's email. 10 years old, just sitting there clicking the emails because her mother is compiling an email list because she has an online store. So she's paying her daughter. If she pays her daughter $100, she's going to get to write that off as a business expense. That's going to be $100 less that she has to pay taxes on. She's making it work for her. If it can work for her, it can also work for you. Start to make these benefits work for you. You'll be able to retire quicker, and Uncle Sam won't stay in your pocket. There are lots of ways that you can keep the tax man off your money. We'll look at vehicles tomorrow, or how we can safeguard our finances that we bring home. And prior to, pre-tax dollars are the best thing going. That's why you want your 401ks if you work out in the world. And you want your 401bs if you work for private entities or nonprofits. You want to be able to open an IRA, or better yet, a Roth IRA. Now, if you're my age or 50 or older, you might want to look at a traditional IRA. Or if you make a lot of money starting out, a traditional IRA, the benefit to that is when you put the money in there, you're not going to pay taxes. You'll get to write that off. But the time you pay taxes is when you start to make your withdrawals. But by that time you're retired, your income has come down, because when we retire, unless you really have had a really high-paying job, more than likely, and even if you had a high-paying job, more than likely your income is going to come down some. Because you're not going to, if you got a $300,000 a year job, they're not going to pay you $300,000 a year in pension. Trust that. Y'all don't even have to go to HR. You can take that one to the bank. You're going to get less in your pension. And let me tell y'all a secret about Social Security while I'm here. Because you pray to live long enough to take it. It's called social insecurity, because Social Security was not meant to take care of you. Social Security was designed and created to take care of widows who had lost their husband. Later on, it became a quote-unquote retirement type pension plan. Now, I told you the other day, it's just what, $15.69 is the basic Social Security check right now. That's not going to go far. That's why you have to do a plan for your life, that you will have some sort of vehicle to have income outside of Social Security. I say it, African Americans are the most unplanned people when it comes to retirement. We don't think about it. Most of us think we're going to work forever. And it's sad that we go through life thinking all we're going to do is work. There is a time that you can rest and enjoy the fruit of your labor. You work for 40 quarters. You work for, Social Security takes 40 quarters, y'all, a multiple of 10 years to decide what they're going to give you for the rest of your life. It doesn't seem fair. And they'll take the 10 top years of your highest salaries, though, that they'll do. So 10 top years is how they decide what to give you. And the gentleman told me, and then they have a formula. I had to laugh, because I said, you got a formula? He said, yes, ma'am. I said, well, what's your formula? He said, well, we have a formula that will multiply your age, and by another formula we have that will give us an estimate of how long you're going to live. You don't know nothing about my DNA. You know nothing about my health, my family, medical history, nothing. But they use that formula for each and every one of us. And recently they have found that they have not been fair to African Americans, because we've been judged by a different scale. I just read this article, and on the penny site, it's called Penny Hoarder website. And the reason being is because they look at us as having short lifespan, because they look at us with being higher in the rates of diabetes, being higher with high blood pressure. So our money is cut short. Our benefit is cut short because they believe we're going to get it. I don't know about you. I don't have diabetes. I don't have high blood pressure. Give me all my money. But the truth is, we won't get it until they revamp the system. President Biden is trying right now to get them to revamp the system so the system will be more fair to everybody. We all pay in it. If Gene over there is Caucasian and Michael is Hispanic, we all have the same salary. Why shouldn't we all get the same benefit? And that's what they're trying to do, to even the playing ground. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And somewhere along the line, the adjustment is going to come, and it's going to be payday. So people that have been receiving less may get that back money they said paid to them. It's the same thing with husbands and wives. Do you know you can decide to take your money or take your spouse's money, 50%, and then let your money continue to grow, and every year that you don't take your Social Security, it grows 8% once you get to your full retirement age. And so as your money is growing, you're enjoying the fruit of the labor of your spouse. So you're both getting a check, or he or she may still be working, and you're receiving half of their money. Don't that sound like a good plan? And your money keep growing. And when you get to your full retirement age, you can say, whew, I think I want my money now. And then you go and you put in for your own benefit. And by then, your benefit has soared. This year was the highest benefit that's ever been paid out in 40 years. They started out with 6.6, 6.2. It ended up being 5.9. I retired from the state of Maryland. They've never given us a 5.9. I wish they would. They do their retirement recalculations for their COLAs, and you receive it in July. They said now, anyone receiving Social Security, they're on track right now, if inflation stays the way it is, for a raise of over 7%. That has never happened in the history of Social Security. That it can increase some people's check over $200 a month. That's huge, especially when you're used to getting $30. And if you're on Medicare, they took 10 of that. So it ended up being $20 actually coming to you. This year, we got a big raise, but they took Medicare up by $70. So the people that received that $100 only got what? $35 out of the 100. But President Obama, I'm sorry, President Obama is not our president. President Biden has made a decision, and he has called and gathered together a committee. And this committee is supposed to look at that, because the reason Medicare went up that high was because the new Alzheimer's drug was supposed to cost $568. By osmosis or a miracle, I'm not sure which, when they were getting ready to investigate the company, all of a sudden they said it's only going to cost $35 a month. So the people that are now paying over that $70 and up, some people pay $568 a month just to have Medicare. It goes on your income. That President Biden said, we need to be fair to the people. Now that they brought that down from $568 to $35, we need to make it right. So that's what this committee is going to do. We may next year in 2023 get that money back when they readjust that payment, which is a blessing. That means somebody is looking out for the people, and we need that. Keep your eye on the ball when it comes to your finances. Don't leave everything to someone else. I love what Oprah Winfrey said. She said, she's a billionaire, and she said this: I don't account for my money, but I know where every penny is. You have to show up for the meetings when it comes to your money. Make sure you are the CEO of your finances. It's great to have people to help you, but get understanding. Even the Bible tells us in all you're getting, get understanding. Get understanding of what's going on. Okay, let's look at, we keep your credit utilization ratio low. I'm going to use this example that's here. It tells them and measures how much of your credit you use versus how much you have available. If you have $10,000 and you use $2,000, your ratio of your credit is 20%. You're going to take the $2,000 and divide it by what you're going to use, $10,000, and that will give you your 20%. Nationally, they say try at best to keep your credit ratio. Man, I hate to erase the seed. The seed gives hope. Y'all keep seed in mind, okay? And as you have that in mind. So, you want to always keep it at 30. Try your very best to keep your debt ratio, or I'm sorry, utilization, at least 30%. Now, this is a method you can use. Say you have 3 credit cards. One credit card has a $5,000 limit. One credit card has a $3,000 limit. And one credit card has a $2,000 limit. If you need to put something on credit, divide it up. Don't put, oh, well, I got $5,000. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go here and I'm going to put it all on that because my limit is $5,000. Always remember this when it comes to credit cards. You have to have enough room in your limit for your interest as well as the principal, what you're getting ready to put on that card. So when they look at it and they decline it, and you said, well, I got $5,000 limit. Why did they decline my card? Because you trying to put $4,499 on there. And they still have to add the interest to that. They're not going to let you do it. And everybody in the store looking at you like, you know you ain't had that kind of limit. And you may. So you want to put an amount on here, some on there, and that's the lowest. very little there. This is a method or formula you could use, and this will stop your credit rating, as the young lady asked earlier, from taking a hit. It will stop your credit rating from fluctuating. So it's better to have some on some cards than have debt on one card. And don't play the shell game. Don't try to move it around, move it around. It never works out with math. Anything you do, my favorite line when I sit with people is this: do the math. I don't care what it is. If it has numbers, it requires math. Always do the math. Don't let anybody tell you it's easy. You sit and you do it yourself and make sure you get understanding. Another place you can use, it's a site called Experian Boost. I know you all have seen the commercials. They are actually rated #1. It's the first of its kind. It features that help consumers instantly improve their FICO score. And the FICO score is the Fair Isaac Company. These two gentlemen came together, and they were the one who created the credit score. They were the ones that came up with the formula that we talked about. Your payment history, your unpaid debt, the number of loans you have and accounts you have open, all of that information they gathered, and Mr. Fair and Mr. Isaac came together and created our FICO score. All banks don't use FICO scores. Some of them use the Advantage. And the Advantage, especially on Cedar Point, for some reason they love to use the Vantage score. The Vantage scores is a little different than the FICO score. They don't use as much information and data as they do for your FICO score, so they're a little bit more friendlier. So if you've had a couple knocks on your credit, you might want to look up and see which bank or loan organization, what method they're using, because they tend to bend a little bit. It's like they're more understanding. And again, credit unions are going to be more understanding than great conglomerates. Big companies, Bank of America don't care that you lost your job, and that's why you didn't pay your bills. All they see is your FICO score, showing that you are not credit worthy. The credit union will care because they're your neighborhood bank. So make yourself known again to them. Now with Experian Boost, they take in consideration your utility bills are paid on time, your phone bill, telecom is paid on time. If you have like streaming services, they even take into account you pay Hulu, they $4.99 a month, and you pay it on time every month. If you don't have credit, Experian Boost is great for you because they will help you. Another way to do is also to get a secured credit card. What on earth is a secure credit card? Have you all heard of that before? What does secure mean? Secure means there's something against it or collateral. Your credit union or your bank will be more apt to give you a secure credit card over giving you new credit. And the reason is this. When you go in there, you ask them, I'd like to open up this morning a secured credit card. And they'll ask you, well, what limit would you like? And you may say $10,000. And she's going to say, oh, that's great. And then they're going to ask you, now, what do you want to put it in, a money market, a checking account? And you're looking like, huh? Because you have to have collateral. If you want a $10,000 limit, bring $10,000 with you. They don't usually start that high. Most people start with $300 to $500 because they're really trying to start their credit history again. And so they take your $500, they open an account, and they freeze that money there. And the good thing about that is this. The money is frozen, but it's still getting interest. And as long as you pay your credit card as per the agreement per month, and you keep paying it off, your money sits. The moment you stop and don't pay it, guess what happens to your money? They take that collateral out of here, and they will pay the debt off because that guarantees they'll get their money. So it's a win-win for you, and it's a win for the bank because they're going to get their money and you're going to get a better credit score. And as you pay it every month, and you want to do small things, don't go do nothing big. Do small things. Go buy gas. And then when the bill is due, pay that bill off in full and start out like that, baby steps. Don't try to pay the whole $500 off. Just pay the $40. Well, today, if you got a van, $100, $150 it could cost you to fill up your van. And so just pay that off and then move on from there. And so as you do that, you are starting to build your credit score, and your FICO score is starting to rise. Your Vantage score is starting to rise. The highest FICO score is 850. There's a differentiation with the Vantage score. Some people say 850. Some companies say 900. I've seen them both. I have a 900 Vantage score. And the reason I have a 900 Vantage score is because of that utilization. If there's nothing to be against it, they can't hold nothing against that. Now you shoot for the moon, shoot for that zero again. Shoot for that 850, shoot for that 900. But if you miss it, you'll be among the stars. You can be somewhere in the six. As you see over there, to 700 credit score. When you hit 700 and plus for the FICO score and your Vantage score, they consider you an excellent risk. The world is your oyster. You can get anything on your signature 90% of the time. It's very few times people with excellent credit have to put up any type of collateral. So you can go and you can get your car and just be like, okay, and guess what? People, they don't tell us these things. This is why you have to educate yourself. Do you know if your FICO score, your Vantage score, your credit score is low, you take a hit in your auto insurance? They use that now to decide what your payment and what your amount of insurance is going to cost you. That, and the next thing is your zip code, your neighborhood, where you live. Both of them will affect the cost of your auto insurance as well as your house insurance. Isn't that crazy? It wasn't like that until about 3 years ago they started to do that. So that's another reason why you want to keep your credit score going up. And don't get down and out if your credit score isn't where you want it to be, because eventually you are going to get it there. Now, you got a secure credit card. Another way is, especially if you're married, I'm going to say this, do not mix credit and romance, because the future is not promised. You're together today, but 6 months from now, you may be broke up, and you'll be stuck with that debt, or he'll be stuck with that debt. This is another method you can use by becoming an authorized user on your spouse's credit card. Their good credit will start to lift your other than good credit. I hate to call it bad credit, but people say, I just got bad credit. But it's not bad credit. It's credit that needs improvement, and you can improve that credit. And so if you become a user, authorized user, your spouse will let them know that they give you permission to use that credit card, and they will send you your own credit card. As you use that, it will start to build your credit score. Now, if your husband or wife has a 650, 850 credit score, and you got a 400, you may be up at 630 by the end of the night when you get your credit card. You got that big boost because you've now joined them with their good credit. So it works in your benefit. And use anything that works in your benefit. We have the next subject here is called, you can freeze your credit card. I don't mean put it in the freezer, even though some people do that to stop themselves from using it. Another way to do is put foil around your credit card. What? If you have a credit card and, let's see if I can get mine. If you have a credit card and it has the chip, Let me see. Do I have one with I've got to find one. I don't care much. Okay, Capital One. Here we go. That's a debit card. All right, here we go. And another thing you can do with credit card, they try to make credit cards so personal, y'all. They want to make them so at home. You see my credit card? My mom, 4 generations of the women in my family pictures on my credit card. That's supposed to be so warm into my heart that I pull it out and use it all the time. Not. They do this. This is bait to get you to use your card, to get you to use credit. It worked to get the picture on here, but I've hardly used it. But if you look at your credit card, it has, and you have a chip. When you put foil around your card, it protects your card. I keep a piece of paper, old piece of paper in here. And the reason you want to do that is it stops people from passing you by with scanners, and they can take your information off your credit card. And they can duplicate your card in a flash, in a minute, in a second. They are very good at doing this. And they can do it, and you don't even know they've done it. That's why you have to be astute when you're in stores. People come up behind you and they're bumping you. They're getting your information. That's probably how they got my information anyway and have it on the black web. I was like, how did they get I don't put my information anywhere. I'm very careful. So there's some kind of way they've done it. The other way is pay attention when you go to ATMs. Do not go to ATMs at night. Ladies, don't go by yourself because you never know. And look at it. I always feel and I look. They make it now that they have, and the sad thing is you can order them from Amazon and you can order them from offline, eBay. They make being a criminal just easy. You can get these devices and they put them on the front and it will duplicate your card. And they have little tiny cameras that are so small you don't pay attention to them. And they see your strokes and they get your pins. And they have everybody's pin in order. They duplicate your card and they can use it. Another thing is when you go into stores, make sure they give you your card right back. I'll never forget, we were over in Delaware and I paid for my food and I was like, wait a minute. 5-10 minutes passed, they ain't give me my card. And I asked the young lady, excuse me, what happened to my card? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go get it. Well, when we got back home, Navy Fed called me because someone had been trying to use my card to buy stuff online. Evidently, they took my card number down and the CVN, the 3-digit number on the back of my card, and they were trying to make big purchases online at Amazon. But the good thing is, Navy Federal is one of the best banks for watching your cards. I tell you, they let you know real quick. They keep a good eye on your card. You want to make sure your bank has a good track record too. And so you want to protect your card because these cards represent you. If people get your credit, you aren't responsible. Well, let me rephrase that. Many credit card companies don't hold you responsible. There are a few out there that will make you pay if someone used your credit card. Just like insurance. If they break in your car, you can file a claim. They haven't broken in your car if you left your car unlocked all night. That's the difference. Insurance company will tell you, well, you assisted now by leaving your car unlocked. So we have to have that same safety mentality when it comes to our credit because your credit speaks to who you are. Sometimes no one will know you other than by your credit rating. You come in there with a 320 and they look like, did they ever pay a bill? And you know you may have had issues, rightfully so. But people don't see that. And they will charge it and knock our character and not know us personally. So you always want to make sure you keep your credit safe and guarded wherever you are. And again, remind people, give me my card back, please. If it seems like it's been gone too long, it does not take anybody 15 minutes to process your check. So, and another thing that gets me is this. This is a pet peeve of mine. When you order food now since COVID and this pandemic, and you're out there waiting for them to bring you your card back, and you're sitting. The other day I called in there and said, hey, look, where's my card? Oh, I'm sorry, we got busy. I'm out here waiting for my credit card to come back out, but they got busy. I don't know what they did with my card, so I immediately went home and I froze my card. So they won't have an opportunity, if they did write it down, to use it. So next, we're going to look at what? I'll give you a couple credit tips. Number one, you want to educate yourself in financial matters such as saving, investing, creating wealth. You want to read books. Please read books. Books will really, really bless you. Take a course or two. CSM offers personal enrichment classes. I love those classes. You don't get credit for them, and some of them you get CEUs, which add up to your lifetime credits. That will help you. And some CEUs, you actually can do a portfolio and have them turned into a credit. If they have a class that is very close to it, and they will do that for you for a fee. But it'll be worth it because it'll help you advance in getting your degree. So when you do that, also, this is another one. A lot of people don't like to talk to them, but sit down with a financial advisor. I do like the advice that Dave Ramsey gives in his class in Financial Peace. He said, find a financial advisor that has the heart of a teacher, somebody that's willing to explain. I always say this, do not go to a financial advisor who's a salesman, because they're there and their main goal is to sell you products, and they will sell. You know, it's just like insurance, and we're going to take a quick look at that tomorrow. When you buy insurance, they always want you to buy whole life. Oh, yeah, you need this policy, and the first thing they tell you is you can borrow against whole life. If you want a loan, go to the bank. Don't do it through insurance. Buy term. Term is the least expensive, and the younger you are, the cheaper it is. For under $30 a month, a young man can get $1 million insurance. He can leave his family very well off. If you don't have any illnesses or any chronic type diseases, you can get $500,000 for under $50 a month in term insurance and still leave your family well off. I like what Michael J. Fox's dad said, and he wrote a book called Die Broke. He said, I'm going to live to watch my grandchildren and my children enjoy my money. His wife gave them the china while she was alive, so when they went to their house, they got to eat off it too. And the reason he wanted to die broke, he said, don't die with all this and they just run through your money and you don't know what they're going to do with it. If you have a child that have a substance problem, you're going to leave them all your money, and guess what they're going to do with it? You already know. I used to say, people going to turn over in their grave if they knew their child was doing that. They'd have worked their whole life, and this is what they do. This is how they thank you. Train your children up in finances so that they will know to do the right thing with money. And if they come along and have some issues, work with them to get through the issues. Everybody, no, none of us are perfect, but we're striving. We're trying to get better, and especially when it comes to our money and our finances. We want our children to be so blessed. I don't know about you. I want my children to be blessed, and I don't want them to be stressed. And in order to do that, as parents, older than I have to do the right thing. Husband and wives, I beg you to get on the same page financially. Don't try and do this by yourself. If you have to do it by yourself, go ahead and start doing your debt plan, and your spouse will eventually come alongside you. Encourage them. As a matter of fact, show them how good your debt snowball is going, and then they'll be like, well, wait a minute, let's put mine in there. And then you have double to work with, and you're going to get out of debt even quicker. Because when you get married, there's no more his debt and your debt is our debt. You know, people talk about their student loans and things like that, and they be like, well, I got married, and he don't want to help me pay for my student loans. He said, you had that before I met you. Well, we're no longer separate. We come together, and we're two. So we have to put our finances together. Putting your finances together, and I'm going to say this nice. Okay. Everybody runs their house differently. You may run your house where your husband and you put your money together. Joan and her husband may they have a pool of money that goes for the expenses and all in their house, and then they have their own money. Both ways are equally fine because it's working for those families. You have got to find the formula that works for you. I know there are many advisors out here that say, you have to this and you have to that. When you leave their office, they stay there. They don't go home with you. They don't design your plans for your household. You take the information that they've given you and you apply that to your household. And then you move and work from there. One other thing here is you want to invest. Invest with banks, investment companies that are fiduciaries. What is a fiduciary? A fiduciary is an entity that works on your behalf. They give you the advantage. Most banks are not fiduciaries. They are in it to make money and to make as much money as they can. A fiduciary bank is in it to help you get the advantage. They're going to always try to do what's best for their customer. Look on there and see, it's usually real small if they're fiduciaries. TD Bank is one, and they're a great online bank, y'all. And one of my favorite other online bank is VIO, V-I-O Bank. We'll look at that tomorrow to help you with your savings. So they will take care of your money, and the way they work is when you make money, they make money. So you both are happy. It's a win-win. So you can find them to invest in, you can find them to bank with, you can find them with loans. They usually have lower loan rates than almost anybody. And there are also peer-to-peer groups. I don't know if you all have heard of them. These are people that have come together and they pool their money together and they lend their money to people who are trying to get their credit reestablished or they're trying to start a startup business. Some people just have a little side hustle. They ask me, we need $20,000 so that we can get enough product. And they use that and those people credit rating and they will lend money to them. They have smaller interest rates than all banks that I've ever seen. Getting money from an online bank is sometimes easier than getting money from your local bank because they can take greater risk because they don't have to pay for all the brick and mortar. So they can make greater loans, bigger loans at smaller rates. So these are the type of people you want to start to look into. It benefits you financially. Anything that benefits you financially and it's legal, jump on it. As even Christians, people be like, well, we can't do that. Yes, we can. God's word says that we are to follow the laws of the land. And the law says if it's legal, you can do it. Take advantage of it and let it benefit you. One thing I need to say is this: be patient and be diligent. You will restore your credit and you can start over again. Don't let anybody tell you you can't start over. Don't let them tell you that you're too far gone. Your credit score has gotten so low that there's no way up. It's always a way up. And you just have to stay in there and be diligent about it. It didn't take you a month to get in debt. It's going to take you more than a month to get out of debt. So you have got to be patient and work with somebody. You know people that can help you. Talk to them. And sit with them. I sit with people to help them, not so much to give me the advantage. I already got the stuff. I got the information on the inside of me. I want to help you to get out of debt. I want you to get free. I want you to be able to dream again. Do you know you can dream again? How many of y'all out there online want to dream again? Dream about the things you want to do. And eventually you will have the money to do it. A dream is a possibility. Look for the best deals with making purchases to keep your balances low if you must use credit. Be careful having inquiries on your credit done, those soft pulls. And if you do, this is my advice to you. Try to get them all done at one time. So if you're going to be looking for a car, you're thinking about buying some furniture, they all going to want to do a pull on your credit. Do them all in the same month because it counts as one occurrence. If you do 10 this month, you do 12 next month, you do 13 that month, there are 3 different occurrences. So that's going to hurt your credit record and start bringing your score down. So remember that when you're in plan, when you're ready to make a purchase. Because when you're ready to do one of the biggest purchases you'll ever make, and that's your house, you cannot go out and just buy stuff. Because you've got to let your credit sit. So when they look at it, your credit will be stable, and you're going to get a great rate for your house because the rates are going up right now. People keep asking me, is there any such thing as a good debt and a bad debt? No, not in, personally, I don't believe there's any such thing as good debt because all debt is strangling, is bondage. When you owe people, you can't do what you want to do. So that, to me, that's not good. The only good debt is the debt that's paid in full. It has a zero balance. Now, what type of debt are out here? Here are some pros and cons. Loans, you can get a personal loan. That is, I said it earlier, you can borrow from family or friends. Whew, this is a big one. It is very hard to borrow from family or friends. Y'all online, y'all know that too, right? Because they expect their money back even before you can afford to pay it back. And Thanksgiving dinner will never taste the same when you owe people. Because they're always going to be looking at you like, where's my money? Ooh, she got new shoes, dude. Oh, look at that purse. That's about $300. She only owed me $2. It's hard to sit in company of buzzards. Remember that, because they do what? They eat what's ever around them. Collateral loans. A collateral loan is a loan that's secured by something or something that has a registered lien against the property, such as vehicle, jewelry. You can put your jewelry up as collateral. I had, I think it was Cedar Point one time, and she said, well, do you want, that was when I was restarting, well, do you want to put up collateral? I said, well, she said, do you have any jewelry, furs? And she was going down the list. I was like, what? I was shocked and appalled. You want me to give you my fur coat? Well, what y'all gonna do with it? Oh, they will have it stored, and when your loan is paid off, you get your possession back. I was just floored. So you can use jewelry, you can use your house. No, somebody say no, no, no. To secure the collateral. Now, unsecured loan is just the opposite. It has no collateral attached to it. It is a loan that is on your own recognizance. It's a signature loan. You've gotten to a place where you can just sign, and they will say you're a good risk, and they will lend you the money or whatever it is you have need of. Now, there's a mortgage, and people keep saying, well, I want a mortgage. There are 4 types of mortgages: multifamily dwelling, a farm, a home, which is a single-family dwelling, and commercial, where you want to buy property like this block in Jesus' name. And you own the whole entire thing. There's also different types of products for mortgages. A fixed mortgage is you go and get a loan and you have a fixed rate. You bought a house and there's that 4.00% annual percentage rate. That means that rate is never going to change. You're going to pay 4% unless, of course, you refinance. My advice for refinancing is this. Refinancing is a great way to start eradicating debt, but this is the catcher. Do not refinance anything that isn't at least 1%. It's not worth it. It will end up costing you more in the long run, because always remember, when you refinance, there are always going to be fees. If you refinance your house, the closing costs are always 1% of whatever your final bill is. So you're going to pay that 1% plus the attorney fees and all the other fees that are included and rolled up and folded up into that refinance. It's the exact same thing with your car. But I encourage you to refinance debt as a tool to get out of debt. If you can get a lower interest rate, go for it. And make sure you pay on it and you use that get out of debt seed and add it to it and get out the debt quicker. The only reason you want to refinance debt, and never refinance debt for an extended period of time. If you owe 2 years, I want to refinance at 2 years. Don't let them tell you, well, we're going to refinance you at 36 months. No, thank you, because they're going to get a whole extra year of interest off of you. and that means you're going to pay more for it. So tell them you want to refinance, you only want 24 months, that's it and that's all. If they don't want to do it, leave the office and go somewhere else where they will. You always want to keep in your mind, in the back of your mind, doing the math. Then there's the ARM, which is an adjustable rate mortgage. Now, this is a mortgage that will float and readjust. They usually go in time periods. Some will say in 2 years, 5 years, 6 years, depending on how long your mortgage is for. Do not do that. They are some of the most dangerous mortgages out here, and they are the number one reason many people, when the bubble burst in 2008, had ARMs and lost their homes because they could not afford the payment. Our mortgage is made up of PI. This is your formula for a mortgage if you've never bought a house. PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Taxes and insurance go into an account called an escrow. As long as you owe a mortgage, you don't own your house. Anything that has debt does not belong to you. Miss a payment, and you will find out that Wells Fargo owned your house because they will come and take it. Until you get that deed, that house belongs to the bank. You have possession of it. They have ownership. That's why we want to make the sacrifice. When you get your mortgage, it starts out with your principal and your interest. So every month you'll see the breakdown when you go. They also will give you an amortization. You can go online and you can bring down your amortization, and it'll show you from the day you made your first mortgage payment all the way down to 360 if you've got a 30-year mortgage, and down to your final, what your final payment will be. You can make that go away real quick just by adding a few extra dollars per month, because the interest you'll pay, the balance that's over the interest is put onto your principal. And so your principal will start to get lower and lower and decrease quicker. And also, once your principal decreases, the cost of the money goes down, so your interest will start to decrease. So when you first buy your house, you may be it's up in the thousands, and you're making a payment. If your mortgage is $1,400, you're looking at it, and $600 is going to the principal. The rest is being eaten up by the interest, because at the start of the loan is where they're getting the most of their money. And so as you go down, so when you do start to look into purchasing a house and they show you the paperwork, go home and do the amortization. There are calculators on all the websites that you can use, and work it and look at it and ask yourself. We'll look at that tomorrow too. Can I afford to buy a house? Or can I afford this house, the one you're looking at? Because you got to always keep in mind, the P&I never changes. Principal and interest is set in stone. That's always going to be the same. This is where your change comes, in your taxes and insurance. Insurance is really going up because of the weather and different things in the country. We can't control that. So those rates are going up. So almost every year, when you get your escrow report, you'll see, and your insurance company will send you a notice saying they have risen that again. And of course, taxes change every year. They will come and do an assessment on your house every 2 years, and on the third year, it goes into effect. But tomorrow, we'll talk about how to keep them off your back too. And so your escrow is what changes. You can afford the house in 2022, but can you keep the house in 2030? Because the escrow amount has gone up. And that's what people would do. They will go by what they are approved at. Go by what you sit and budget and look at, and go by what you have budgeted, not by what the bank said they will lend you. It's in the bank's advantage if you qualify for a $500,000 house. but your budget is telling you you need to live in a $200,000 house. Don't let the bank take you here, because this is going to raise to the point where you won't be able to keep it. But if you have this, it's going to keep you where you can keep that escrow amount. You'll be able to pay the taxes on it, and you'll be able to pay the insurance. And guess what? When you pay your house off, all of this goes away. You have to keep account then of one thing, your taxes and insurance. And you pay your taxes 2 times a year, September and December, and you pay your insurance yearly. It's easier to budget $600 a year, monthly. This is the way you do it. You take the amount that you need for your escrow, and you divide it by 12. And that will tell you how much money every month you need to put in your budget to put away for savings. You do the exact same thing every bill, every debt, everything you have for your budget. Divide it by 12. You know your car is going to need an oil change. If you can't come up with the $60 at one time, what's the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time, people. If you try to eat him whole, he's going to choke you. So if you eat him, eat his ear. Eat the trunk. One bite at a time. That's how you do it. That's how you create your budget. And that's how you do what's called a projectile. That means that you are planning out for the future. You are looking into your future. And you're already going to have it paid for because you're going to budget that in. Now, what's next? How are we doing on time? Well, we're doing real good. Amen. The next thing, we've done our ARM, we've done our mortgages. Here's something that I pray you never get to the point where you have to use these too, but if you do, be very mindful because they are also against your house. You will be putting your house in jeopardy. One thing you really never want to do is to put your house in jeopardy. Your house is your greatest means of wealth building. It'll be the first great wealth building you will ever ascertain. Because one thing about a house is it appreciates. They very seldom depreciate. So it is called a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. And what they do is they look at your house, they go and you pay $400 and get somebody to come out and do a house inspection. They do the house inspection and they will give you this big old report and a comparison of the houses in communities that's close, that a house is very close and identical to your home. They do the appraisal and they turn it into the bank. To get a HELOC, they'll look at your credit rating, your FICO score. They'll look at that assessment. Then they'll see what the value is of the house. They take the value of your house. Say your house is worth $100,000 today. They'll look at your house and say, okay, the house is worth $300,000. We will give you an equity loan. When they do the assessment and they find out how much your house is worth, they find out what you owe on the house. If you owe $100,000, your equity is $200,000. They deduct your debt on the house from the value of the house. This is what your equity, your HELOC would be. The beauty of the HELOC is this. You get to make withdrawals as you need it. So you're not paying on that $200 constantly. Maybe you want to redo your whole kitchen. You only need $50,000 to do that. You call them up, And you say, okay, I like to take 50 out of there. I said 500,000. Woo, that's a nice kitchen. So they will lock off that $50,000. They'll tell you what your rate is. Maybe right now I think they were at 3 something. I think the last one I saw was at 5.64%. That's going to be your interest rate. That's your annual rate. Then there's your APR, which is the annual percentage rate. This is what they're charging you. Your APR is what it totally ends up costing you. They have to give you a disclosure, and it'll explain all those junk fees in that APR. You're looking at your loan and you're happy because it's low, 5.64, yay! But when you look at your paperwork and you sign, it'll say 6.6%. The extra money comes in with all of the different fees they add to it. So this is the true, your APR is the true cost of the money you're borrowing. And your annual rate is just what they're going to settle on right there, your interest rate at the time that you're signing your loan. So now you get that and you got $150,000 left from your value in your house. And that sits over here. Why is it over here, you think? Because they like you? No, it's over here in case you need it. And we can loan you more money. They will loan you up to, it's called loan to value. They will let you borrow up to 80% loan to value. That means you only have 20% left. Miss a payment and find out they're going to take what? 100%. Because they're going to take your house. They have ownership. You have possession. Until you pay this house off, all that last $100,000, they can do it anytime they want. Another thing you have to be very careful of is when you start to get in financial difficulty, make sure you, again, be proactive. You be the one to call them for this reason. They are more apt to work with you if you call and let them know, especially right now during the pandemic. This is a great time when people are having financial difficulties. Banks have been very understanding. Credit unions, mortgage companies. If you look on, when you go to make your payment, it has a big blurb on there. If you're having difficulties, please let us know. Because they're willing right now because they don't have people running out buying houses right now. So it's better to keep you paying. Even sometimes they will say, pay the interest. Be very careful with that. It can work for a while, but if you have to do it for an extended amount of time, it could really end up costing you because that money does not go away. What happens is they put that, you pay the interest, which may be $200, $250 a month, and your payment is $500 a month. What happens to that other $250? They put it on the back end of the loan. You will pay it back, and you will pay it with interest. So we want to be very careful when we go and make deals with the devil. And I shouldn't call the bank the devil, but sometimes they can act like it, right? And so you want to be wise when you are making these deals, when you are signing your name to any type of debt, and especially when the debt is on your house. This is the most expensive debt you can have, second only to 401ks. You rob yourself when you borrow from you. But there is a way to borrow money from yourself and make money. It's called a share. We'll talk about look, I let the cat out the bag now, right? It's called a shared loan. You go to the bank and you've got money in the bank. The cheapest money you can borrow is your own. And this is why. Usually, well, all the banks I've ever dealt with, is usually 2%, except for Cedar Point. Cedar Point is 3%, over whatever your interest rate. If you've got money in the bank and you need a loan, this is the time to take out that loan and do a share pledge loan. Because right now, most banks are at 0.50. They add 2% on top of it in interest. Your loan becomes 2.50. Where can you get that? Nowhere. Right now, loans are over 5% because they just took the interest rates up again because the feds just took it up another 0.5%, and they're getting ready to raise it again another 0.5%, which means money is going to cost more. As they make money cost more, that starts to bring inflation down because people will stop buying, and then the economy will start to get stable, and we will start to finally see these prices come down. Isn't that amazing that they have to take stuff up to bring prices down? But that's the way finances work. Start piling your money and borrow from yourself. This is my favorite, and 9 times out of 10, this is the loan I use if I ever need loan, share pledge. And your money is still getting that 0.50. And what happens is every month that you pay your payment, they release that money back into your account. Your account is frozen. You can't take anything unless you have something above that amount in it. And they will put that money back in your account after each payment, minus the interest. Cheapest money you can borrow. And you're so happy because you're looking at it, and it is the quickest money to pay off. Because it's so low, you'll want to take that seed money and put on top of it. And it'll make it go that much quicker. Y'all, are y'all getting anything? How about y'all out there? Are y'all getting anything? Hope all of this is helping you. And as we get all of these things together, all of these values together, you will find yourself better off. Eradicating debt, we looked at the debt snowball to use as one method. Budget is your number one way. Your plan for debt reduction, your plan to succeed. Ben Franklin said this: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That means if you don't have a plan, you can't help but fail. You don't have a path out. Thank y'all for all them hearts. So they're getting something too. Budget your way out of debt. That is the best way to get debt eradicated. Always look at it. The last one we're going to talk about, and it should be perfect timing because it should only take 5 to 6 minutes. How many of you get in the mail? I'm sure all of you do. They send them to you, and they say they're called a balance transfer. Any of you get those? How about out there? Do y'all get balance transfers? Your credit card company or other credit card companies will send them to you, and most of them have the 0%. That is so attractive to see that zero, I tell you. But you have to do the math. A balance transfer can work for you. Putting new purchases on the card that gives you a 0% can work for you. But you must be diligent. You must be disciplined. If you are not, don't take the risk. I put a Mercedes on a 0% credit card. Am I crazy? I thought I was. But it taught me to be disciplined. Because I know. I read the small print. This is the difference of a 0% and using the credit card to actually have a fixed percent. If it costs you don't do it. This is how it can cost you. If they give it to you at 0%, they usually have terms. They're usually from 12 months to 24 months. I've seen a lot of them starting out there 18 months. They're really trying to get business. After the 12 to 24 months, if you have not paid per agreement and you have a balance left over, you will be charged your regular rate. So if you have a credit card that's 23%, and I know people that do, they're going to start to charge you 23%, but not from that day. They take it back to the day of the original opening of your balance transfer. So all of that interest from 23 months ago, or 24 months if you go all the way, will be added at 23%. It's not worth it. But if you are disciplined and you know you can stay disciplined, this is a blessing. This is how. At 0%, 24 months, it costs you one thing. They always, now I won't say always, there's one company that does not charge. And if you have a BJ's card, thank the Lord. BJ's, when you do balance transfer with their Synchrony Bank card, they don't charge a balance transfer fee. When they do their 0%, it's 0%. So they're great to use if you have them. But usually you're charged a balance transfer fee. I call it acronym BTF. That is usually 5%. I wrote a little formula right here. So if you have $5,000 on that card, your balance transfer fee is going to be, what, $250. So you start out with $5,000, so now your balance is $52.50 at 0%. You pay that. What your payment is, usually if you look in the small print, most credit cards will tell you your minimum payment is 1% of your balance. So that's $50 a month is the minimum, the least of the payment. They'll have you paying that. And usually they keep it at that. They don't change it even though your principal go down. So the interest you would think would be going down, but there's no interest here. Why? The $250, they get up front. Before your payments start going on the $5,000, you're going to pay the $250 off. They get their money up front. So they're kind of reeling you in with a 0%, but they're getting paid up front. Now I'm going to show you how to make a 0% transfer work for you. Before your first payment is due, pay the $250 transfer fee. Pay it up front. Now you what? You're back at your original $5,000. So you've paid all the interest and you're going to pay at $50 a month. Once you're done, you're done. You're finished. That debt is over. Up here, if you don't pay as planned and as agreed, you're not only going to pay that, but you're going to pay all of that interest. And this is what that interest turns out to be. This is the total of this loan when you have to pay it. Because you're going to pay $150, you're going to add a $100 seed that we're starting out with. Remember, we always had a seed, and we're going to add that 100 to that 50. 24 times that equals what I put on here. $3,600, $150 a month. That's $3,600. So that leaves $1,400 balance. This is what you paid off in your 24. You may look at the people or sit home and plan it out and said, I can pay that off in 11 months or so. It ends up costing you $3.55 per month. That is $109.96 a year. The total, when you get done paying everything, in interest end up being $359.96. You add that to your original amount, that transfer now costs you $5,359.96. I thought it was zero. Because you didn't pay per agreement, you're paying a penalty. You're paying almost $400 extra on that balance transfer that started at zero. Don't trap yourself. Get out of debt. If you can pay it, because then it only costs you $250. You saved yourself a total of $203.24 if you pay it per agreed at 0%. You come out ahead. And on that, we're done for tonight. Let's give some praise down to the wire. I'll ask if you all have any questions before we prepare, so you all can get out here for tomorrow. Do you all have any questions concerning credit? Usually, you can use a credit reporting agency. They can tell you. Usually, your banking institution, that's who let me know. They will let you know if they see your stuff out there. And you also can search your name. Google you. You'd be amazed what you find about yourself. We're all in Google, y'all. Your fingerprint is everywhere. Isn't that scary? That people know you. You all are so welcome. Oh, and I'm glad they received something. We're going to get ready to close. And what I want to do, I want to tell you all something that my mother told us growing up. She said to all of us when it came to money and school and getting educated, she told us, you would never appreciate anything you don't invest in. And the second thing she told us, never buy nothing you can't afford to pay for. And both of them lessons have stuck with me. So tonight, in being here, I just want to ask you all online, if you all would like to sow a gift into my life for the information you receive, I will be glad to receive it and bless it and pray God will return it into your life with a harvest on it. It's taken me years to get here, and it's been an investment. And it's a daily investment. I read every day on finances and money in some manner, in some way. And so you can sow by sending it to Cash App. And I'm telling y'all, be very careful to make sure you give the right information with your Cash App. We found out the hard way. Cash App will not give you your money back. So it's hashtag $NIE. Oh, okay. You can send it to the Ministry of Oasis, $OVCCI, and they will make sure that I get it. But I hope you all got something, received something. I see your comments. I thank you for them. Aw. And I hope you all will come tomorrow. We will not be live tomorrow. You've got to show up. And when you show up, it's going to be a great day. We're here from 9 until 3 with great information. We're going to look at two of the biggest purchases you ever make in life, which is a car and your house. We're going to look at building wealth. We're going to look at how we build wealth, why we build wealth. And it's going to be a sprinkle of a whole lot of financial things in there. Because when you're here, it pulls more out of me that can help you. And your questions help. So tonight, sit and think and write out the questions. And you can send them, and I'll take a look later this evening to see your questions, and I'll make sure I will answer them on tomorrow. So everybody's have a great day, a great evening, a great night. Amen.